Hi, I'm Dr. Rich Blon, host of the Healthy Stress Doctor podcast. In this, the 19th edition of the podcast, I'm going to shift gears a little bit and get back to discussing the 5 R's, and in particular, rethink, the first R. We were talking about rethink in 2 podcasts ago, and I was just wrapping up our discussion of rethinking the big picture. And now we're going to shift gears and we're going to talk about rethinking the little picture. If you remember from the big picture, when I refer to the big picture, I refer to your worldview. And we discuss things such as your values and your goals and the thoughts and the mental images and the personal scripts you have about those things and how they relate to your stress. The little picture really refers to individual potential stressors. So it might be a particular opportunity that reflects one of your big picture values or goals, such as deciding to have a baby or changing jobs or buying a house. A little picture issue also could be a stressor such as getting stuck in traffic or doing poorly on a test or a job interview. So it doesn't have to be a major decision or event. It could be just a normal everyday stressor. But the rethinking the little picture really revolves around, what am I telling myself about this individual potential stressor? And remember, it's still a potential stressor until you tell yourself that it's threatening and you can't cope with it. So I want to examine how people, what they actually tell themselves about individual potential stressors that make them become actual stressors. And when you start to rethink individual potential stressors, you can deal with it in 2 ways. You can actually use an approach that's based on rational emotive behavior therapy, where you examine your thoughts and your self-talk and your logical beliefs about the potential stressor and decide, in fact, that they are illogical, and then try and replace them with more logical thoughts and beliefs and self-talk, more positive self-talk. So the idea there is to not only acknowledge that you're thinking illogically and irrationally and your self-talk is not helpful, but it's actually try and change it by substituting more logical or rational self-talk. So that's one way of rethinking the little picture. And then the other way that I've been moving towards more is the acceptance and commitment therapy approach, which is becoming more mindful of the illogical thoughts and the painful emotions and the negative personal scripts that go along with individual potential stressors. And rather than try and change these or substitute for them, is to just accept them and accept the pain and suffering that comes along with them and move forward. I actually like to think of both approaches as tools in your personal toolkit against stress. Sometimes just accepting and moving on is the preferred way to go for you, depending on the stressor and the context. And other times, trying to change your logical thoughts and substitute more rational ones might be the thing that works for you. I'm really not dogmatic about this and say that you must take one approach or you must take the other approach. I think the literature shows that both work. I must admit that I'm leaning more towards the ACT principles for myself all the time. But I've found in the past that using substitution, rational emotive behavior therapy approaches sometimes work for my more minor stressors, the more major ones, the real hot button issues. The ACT approach seems to work better for me. But I'll teach you both, and we'll talk about both in the upcoming podcasts. And you decide for yourself which one works for you the best, or like I do, use them both, depending on the individual potential stressor and the context in which it presents itself to you. So I'm looking forward to working with you on learning both approaches over the next few podcasts. Thanks.